Yeah, what is going on, team? Welcome back to the prep vlog. Push today. This is gonna be fun. Chest focus push session. This is probably my primary chest session, push session. This is my big one where I've got my first exercise being the incline Smith. So some pretty serious loads that we're chasing for this week. I believe 145, 150 for a top set and then a back off set. So just 2 working sets. I really love using top set back off on this. Again, I've spoken about this a million times for fatigue management, especially in prep, maybe mitigation of injury potentially. But you just get exposure to one heavy set, one back off set. Kind of nice, right? I think, again, I've spoken about this a lot as well, about not always having to lift heavy. You can have exposure to heavy rep ranges, somewhere in that 6 to maybe 10, and then maybe more into lighter rep ranges, somewhere in that 8 to 15. I like that really sort of mix there. But this will be a good one, so I'm excited for it. And I guess even to jump into today as well, Friday being my check-in day with my coach Dean, it was a really nice check-in this week. We did have a lot of movement, both visually and on the scales. We saw about a kilo shift in body weight this week, so I think the average came down close to a kilo, or maybe even a little bit more. And it really resulted in some drastic body composition changes. So this is the first week I really started seeing lots of lines in my back, my glutes, my hamstrings. So very exciting. So as it stands, 96.15 today fasted. And I might, depending on where this ends up, I'll put some videos on the screen just to show you how we're looking from this morning's check-in video. But it's around about 8 kilos left to make my cap. So realistically, in terms of actual fat loss, it's probably another 4 to 6 kilos of fat loss, and then just going to be some wacky stuff to make weight for the weigh-ins, and then I'll obviously be able to refuel after the weigh-in, so that'll be fun. But another week in the books, another vlog in the books. I hope you guys are really enjoying these videos because I enjoy making them. So we'll get warmed up, start on the incline press, and get cranking. So this is probably a good point to bring up when it comes to Smith machine, whether you're doing any exercise in the Smith machine. You'll notice there are a couple of different variations of Smith machines, some being completely vertical and some being on a sort of slight angle. And it's probably a question I get asked a lot is which way should you face when you use the Smith machine that has an angle? So if we're doing any sort of pressing variations, you want to have the angle leaning back, meaning that as the bar comes down to you, it comes down towards your sternum and then it presses back overhead. So that's the typical arm path we would see when we do any sort of free bar pressing. You're bringing it down a little bit lower. It's almost like in an arc-like motion, and then you're pushing from the sternum all the way back towards over your eyes. So if you think about doing normal barbell bench press, if you were doing it in a powerlifting competition, for example, you would unrack the bar, you would start with the bar kind of over your eye level or your chin level, you'd lower it down to the sort of mid portion of your sternum or nipple line, and then you'd press back over towards your eyes and rack the bar. So that's the exact same sort of position we want to be here for any horizontal pressing, any vertical pressing. And then when it comes to any squat variations, it really depends on your goals. So if you want it to be more hip biased, you could face the other way so that when you squat, you're kind of sticking your butt out and you're getting a greater angle at the hip. Or if you're aiming to be more quad biased, you could face the other way with your knees pointing forward, feet out further in front, so you get a lot more flexion at the knee. So it really just depends on your goals, and then you can set it up according to that. Ooh, let's go. Come on. Oh. really happy with that set actually. So I've been banging on about this on my Instagram stories. If you don't follow me there, go check me out at Ultimate Physique Coach. But like how well all of my daily, I guess, data collection has been progressing. So in terms of my sleep quality, in terms of my energy, mood, everything has been on point. And I think so much of contest prep is just like trying to lock in as much as you can in terms of all of that data collection. So one thing for me that's been a huge benefit has been sleep quality. And someone who suffered with pretty severe sleep apnea, especially being bigger and more muscular, and the bigger and heavier I got, the worse I got. I went and got a CPAP machine, and most nights, you know, sort of below 5 events per hour is deemed pretty good. I've been 0 events every single night this week. So waking up really, really refreshed, getting 7 to 8 hours a night. Sleep's been on point, hydration's been on point, and just recovery in general has been absolutely perfect. So I've noticed this week my training has felt just a lot smoother, a lot easier. I've been able to take progressions where I thought I'd struggle. For example, on that top set, 145 last week for 7 reps, which was pretty difficult. This week, 145 for 8 reps. Pretty easy, probably a rep or 2 in the tank, or I failed at 7 last week. So really, really nice. I'm happy to take that progression there. And then all I'll do next week is I'll just up the load, maybe 2.5 kilos, and just chase progression in terms of reps. So now moving on to my second set, just a back off. I did get all my reps on last week's load. So all I've done is just taken a 2.5 kilo increase. And I think that's a really powerful way to just progress your training, is just simple progressions in terms of like a rep here and there, a couple of kilos here and there, and you extrapolate that over the course of a program over many, many weeks and months. It really adds up, and I think that's the real magic to most people's program. Is it's not overly complicated, it's not overly fancy, but we prioritize progression rather than just like chasing a pump or trying to do lots of work in a short amount of time. It's just literally progress over time. That's the key underlying factor to progression in the gym and building muscle realistically. So another point to bring up as well around even just like exercise selection. I think when it comes to actual exercise selection in your program, you don't actually need a lot of exercises. In terms of actual weekly exercise selection, I probably have like 3 to 5 exercises max that I use throughout the week. And maybe in a workout like today, I've only got 2 chest exercises. But a really simple way to kind of get more out of those exercises is just use different rep ranges. And I think that's where the top set back off really shines is, you could just do Smith press, for example. You might do 3 or 4 working sets, but you could just do like 1 or 2 really heavy sets. You could do 2 or 3 really light sets and just change the rep range. You're still getting lots of stimulus, you're still getting progression throughout a variety of rep ranges. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to do a bunch of exercises, because whatever sort of position you miss on this press, for example, you might just do later in the week where you do like a fly or a dip or something else that just trains a different region of the chest. So I think that's a really important point anyway. Do with that what you will. But we'll move on to the back off set. Aiming for at least 10 reps here. Like I said, to take progression, so we'll see how it goes. Whew. 10 reps there, we'll take that. So next week, we'll just chase some reps. Alrighty, Smith pressing done. Hard stuff out of the way for now. Moving on to exercise number 2, which I'm pretty sure is actually my only other chest exercise. I might have dips, I think. I'll have to check my program, right? But 3 sets here. So we had 2 sets on the Smith press, 3 sets here on the fly. And I think looking at it logically, how you would set up a program, especially when fatigue management is something of concern. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but adding volume to smaller, more isolation movements maybe makes more sense, because there is less fatigue associated to those exercises, less risk of injury, and it just probably makes it a little bit easier to just accumulate more volume. Because if I was to add more sets to the Smith press, I have to rest longer, it just takes me longer to do those sets. They're harder, they're more fatiguing on the joints, the nervous system, the surrounding musculature, tendons, ligaments, all that stuff. So I can get in a ton more volume with more isolation movements because it's not going to beat me up as much, it's not going to beat up my joints as much. And I think as well it's more so from a, like, even rest interval time. Like, I don't want my sessions to blow out too long, so you know, I can rest probably a minute, minute and a half in between these and be fine, where my Smith press have to, you know, rest a couple of minutes. Anyway, but I think that's a good way of doing it. So moving on to this, I really love the pec deck seated machine fly, locked in place. Typically something like a standing cable fly is a little bit more unstable. It does make it harder to kind of standardize your technique and you know, logically progress if technique kind of goes out the window. So with this, standardized, you're locked in, nothing changes, except the fatigue in your chest. One thing I will note, and it's a common mistake I see with chest flies, especially on this pec deck machine fly, is people changing the position of their elbows, either bending their elbows more and really emphasizing like bringing their hands together. Where when you bring the elbows in, you kind of shorten the distance between the shoulder and the hand, or where the load is placed. So you're limiting tension in the pecs, especially out in that stretch, but also as you come together, you're basically just bringing your elbows together, bring your hands together, which is not the goal of the movement. I think you want a slight little bend in the elbow. You don't want your arm so straight that it actually hurts your arm or there's a risk of injury for your biceps. But a nice little bend, keep it sort of static. It would be the same as doing like an RDL. The knee kind of stays fixed in this position, the elbow kind of stays fixed. And the objective for this is you're trying to bring your biceps together at the top, get a nice big contraction, because this is more of a shortened bias exercise. We are emphasizing the squeeze, which I know people hate that word, but just trying to bring your biceps together. It's not about bending the elbows, trying to bring the hands together and just lift heavier loads. Keep the loads like enough to make it hard for the given rep target, but really prioritize range of motion, really prioritize standardizing your technique, and like I said, bring those biceps together to really finish the movement. Yeah. 13 reps last week on the same load. That was 15 reps with much better technique and not as close to fail. So fantastic. Across the 3 working sets here now, I'm just going to take rep progressions. So I'm literally just trying to add a rep or 2 across each set and then probably look for a low jump next week. So that was really nice, but 2 more sets to go. Alright, so I lied. This is 2 chest movements and like 4 tricep movements. Got my sessions mixed up. So, we're on to the tricep portion of this push session. 1 heavy set on dips, which is always fun. So machine dips, really great exercise for triceps. Great overall mass builder for the triceps, if you will. And I think if we're looking at overall tricep development, probably want some movements from some different categories. Some sort of push down variation, potentially some sort of overhead variation, and some sort of like pressing variation, whether it be a dip, whether it be a JM press, close grip bench press, close grip push up, whatever you want to call it. I think sort of 3 main movement categories we want to utilize. This one being like the heavy one that I'll do for this. This is my tricep compound movement. One hard set, 8 to 12 reps, somewhere there. And then we've got some more like metabolite stuff. We've got a tricep superset of some push downs and some overheads, so that'll be fun. But we'll see how this goes. This is like a 5 kilo load progression from last week. So it's gonna be hard, but we'll see how it feels. Five kilo low jump from last week. 2 less reps. So with that low jump, obviously the reps come down slightly. So for next week, we're chasing an extra 2 reps, but that's tricep compound done. Now on to isolation stuff, which is gonna be fun. Okay, so second tricep movement. Again, just 1 set push down. Like I mentioned, a couple of different variations. You've got your dip variations, your push down variations, and like an overhead variation. So this session we have all of them, because why not? But again, only 1 set. 1 set of dips, 1 set of push downs, and then a couple of sets of like overhead extension. But again, I really don't think it matters too much with grip. I think a lot of people get like overly pedantic about like grip width or position with push downs, whether it's single arm, bilateral, don't really care too much. This I just like if you've got access to like a B strap or something like that where you can kind of stick your hands in. I feel like it's a little bit nicer than the rope where you do have to kind of hold on a little bit, depending on which rope you have. But these are awesome. Again, 1 set, probably 10 to 15 reps, pretty close to fail. And probably a conversation I have with a lot of my clients as well around training to failure or close to failure. And I've mentioned this a few times now, is like your multi-joint compound movements, you probably want to stay a couple reps shy of failure. But more of your isolation, single joint stuff, you're probably pretty good to go to failure. Maybe not even the first set, but if your first set's kind of load progressions and things like that. Second set, what we do understand, the subsequent sets after your first set are less stimulative, so to get more out of it, we could potentially go to fail on that second set. But if it is 1 set like this, it's just 1 set of a sort of isolation tricep movement, I will just go to fail, and then I'll either just chase load or chase reps the week after.
Then you would have never hit the airport to follow your dreams. Sometimes I still talk to her, but when I talk to her, it always seems like she's talking about me. She said you left the kids, and they just like you. They wanna rap and make soul beats just like you, but they just like you. And I just got through talking about what niggas trying to do, just not new. Now everybody got the game figured out all wrong. I guess you never know what you got till it's gone. I guess that's why I'm here and I can come back home. And guess what I was that when I was back home. Every interview I represented. Maybe we can start again. Sun is down, freezing cold. That's how we already know. When it's here, my dog probably going for a little. That's just all he knows.
I'm cooked. A couple of chest exercises, a few tricep exercises, and we're out of here. Back in tomorrow for pull 1. So my training rotation sort of starts on a Saturday and finishes on a Friday, which we haven't filmed this pull session. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for pull. And yeah, that's gonna be a nasty one. But until next time.